Yeah. Let me drop exclusive game from my exclusive mind. You be out here chasing fame, I stay steady on my grind. Zero diamonds, zero.
Thank you for tapping into the Exclusive Minds podcast. Today we're going to be having an exclusive conversation with exclusive content from Exclusive Minds. I'm your host, Rook, and
Joe.
let's get right into it.
And we are off. Woohoo. So, welcome back, everyone. We've been gone for, oh, God.
About a month.
Yeah, this is our longest one yet. Jesus, life just gets in the freaking way in a hurry.
Yeah, it does. And that's like the best way to describe it. Just like, it's not even like we were like planning on taking a break. It's just like, you know, things happen. Joe's going out of town.
I know. I was out west 2 weeks in a row for like 4 friggin' days. And by the time I got home, I had so much shit, like just personal stuff I had to take care of. It was like, I ain't got time for a podcast. You crazy?
Anyone need any pizzas on the flight or what?
What's that?
I said, anyone need any pizzas on the flight?
No, none of that crazy shit. Though I did have a miserable experience coming home. This last one, it was awful. So I'll talk about it in a sec. But anyway, so I think I don't even know. I mean, I always say I don't know what episode we're on, and I'm usually just kind of playing the game. And,
No, I don't know either.
Honestly, I really don't know what episode this is. I think it's 55, but I don't hold it to me. It's either 54 or 55.
So the last one is 50. This is 53.
Shit, really?
Yeah, 53.
Good.
March 19th.
Holy mackerel! So
And now it is, as of today, April 24th. So it's been well over a month. 3 days have passed.
good
45 days.
Lord! Oh my God!
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
But that's just how things go, man. I mean, everything, you know, consistency is king, and we preach that. But like Joe said, life just gets in the way, and you want to make sure that you're not just putting together some half-ass bullshit. We tend to do these in person, as you could see. You know, we don't do it over Zoom.
no. I guess we could have done that.
We could have.
Yeah.
I guess we could have. It's just like, I don't know. It's just not the
We've
style,
kind
I
of
guess.
gotten into this rhythm of doing it face to face. That
Yeah.
we just never even think about the Zoom deal.
I think the Zoom would be good, you know, for like, I guess the past couple of weeks that we talked about. It's just that we just never tried it.
Yeah.
Like we always tried it with like Marcus or Carol Baskin or someone like that, but never with like one another. So I don't know. It's definitely something we could maybe test out, but.
No, so but just to kind of round out my flight experience thing, just to kick that off, I guess. So I'm coming back from Reno, Nevada. So Friday, my flight was originally supposed to be 12:45 PST, right, Pacific time, and the meeting was ending basically on Thursday instead of Friday morning. So I was like, okay, I'll just I'll go out early, right? I'll get home earlier because a 12:45 flight from Reno, I had to fly to Phoenix and then Phoenix to Philly. So I wasn't going to land until like midnight on Friday.
Okay.
So I call him up. I go, yeah, can I move my flight earlier? There's a 6 a.m. out of Reno that gets me back to Philly at 4:30 in the afternoon. So I'm like, oh, that's awesome, right? I'll get up early. You know, that's like 9 o'clock East Coast time. So it's not like it's really early, right? But so I get up at like 4 a.m. Pacific time, run over to the airport, get on everything. The plane boards, leaves the gate by about 5 feet. And the guy goes, yeah, we're having an electrical issue. We got to go back and have maintenance look at it, right? So you're like, okay, great. Goes back to the gate. About 10 minutes later, like, yeah, there's a part failure and Reno doesn't have the part.
Do people start getting nervous at this time? Commotion? Like, is there people like, what the hell is going on? Like, what?
You know, as soon as there's ever any little issue, people start to get agitated. I just take shit in stride. I mean, I don't lose sleep over any of this stuff anymore.
It's not funny, but like it happens where like people, like when there's turbulence, people will start freaking out. They don't know what the hell's going on, and then like to be fair, that's a reasonable concern. I get that, but when you think about it, you're a piece of scrap metal flying through the sky. Like you have more turbulence on like 41 over here, like in Pennsylvania, than you do like in the sky. You know what I mean? So, but continue. Sorry.
Yeah, no. So I mean, then they're like, yeah, we don't have the parts. We're gonna have to we have to take everybody off the plane, and the bottom line is they had to fly the part in from Phoenix on one of the inbound flights.
Okay.
And they knew it was going to take like 3 or 4 hours to basically get the part. And I mean, it's funny. In my head, I know all it is they're basically sliding out a board, a computer board, and they're sliding a new one in and then resetting it. And that's all they needed to do, right? Because literally once they confirmed the part was on the in the plane, the maintenance guy came in, and it was literally about 20 minutes later that the plane was ready to fly. And I'm like, oh my god.
I know I was just joking about it, but it's better in that situation. Better safe than sorry. Like especially with the whole there was like a few weeks ago that whole Boeing crisis. I mean, did you see their stock price? Like it shot straight down. Like I guess I busted the balls about the turbulence, but you never know. Like Joe said, it's probably just a thing where you take it out, put it back in. But better safe than sorry. Put people's conscience at ease.
I mean, it is what it is. So the flight didn't take off until 2:30, like 6.5 hours later. So of course they had to rebook me and stuff. So So I ended up having to. I was on a red eye, right? I was gonna. I get to Phoenix, and I have like a 6-hour additional layover in Phoenix, and my flight is at 11:25, not landing until the following morning at 6:30 a.m.
So what was the first flight again? That you would have got there?
I would have landed at 4:30 in the afternoon on Friday, and now all of a sudden I'm going to get in at 6:30 in the morning on Saturday.
So you shafted yourself a little bit.
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, the flight that I was on left on time, right? So I'm looking at my phone, right? And they're like, the guy's like, everything's booked in Philly, but I can put you on the standby for a 4:30 out of Phoenix that would get me basically in at that was the flight I was originally on. So I'm like looking at my thing and like, the flight's supposed to leave Reno at like 2 o'clock, and it would land within plenty of time for me to run over to the gate and get onto this standby flight. But they kept delaying it. They had to fill out the paperwork, all this shit. And I'm like, oh, God, this sucks, right?
So what do you even do for that time, though? Like,
I just sat in the.
You literally just sat there?
I literally just sat in the airport and I was catching up on work and surfing the internet. But it's 6 fucking hours, and it sucks.
Yeah.
Right. So as much as you think you can be productive, you go batshit crazy. So it sucked. I mean, it sucks. And so the plane finally takes off. It takes off like 2:30, 2:45 Pacific Coast time. We end up landing at. It gets to the gate in Phoenix at 4:18, and the flight that connects to Philly that I was trying to get on so I would still make it same day was supposed to leave at 4:20. So no chance in hell I'm going to make it. I'm going to end up going out on that red eye. It's going to just totally suck. The day's going to be so freaking long and miserable. And it looks like that flight gets delayed to 4:45. But it is literally the furthest gate away in Phoenix. Right? And if you know Phoenix, right, there's 4.
Never been.
There's four terminals or 4 gates, like wings.
Okay.
And I land there. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4. No, it's like a straight line with just like 4 bars. It's like a graph, right?
Yeah, okay.
And I land in number 2, and it's literally number 4 in the very far corner.
Yeah,
so
shot, right?
It's 4:18. I get off the plane. I'm in first class, so that's the good news. I get off the plane pretty quick.
Subtle flights. Okay, go ahead.
I'm like, oh my God. So I literally I'm thinking, even if I sprint, I might not make it, but I'm like, what the hell? So I power walk, like without like being the tool who's doing the OJ thing. I power walk over to it, and I'm like, and I get to the guy and I'm like, and I get there and there's a million people there, and I'm like, what the hell's going on here? The plane clearly isn't boarding yet. And it should have already been boarded.
Right.
And I get to the gate. I'm like, I cleared standby. My ticket, and he hands me my ticket. And it turns out that the inbound crew was running late, so the plane was delayed. So I busted my ass humping over there, and I didn't need it.
So nightmare, man.
It was just the bottom line is I get on that plane and I end up landing back in Philly at, I think we landed about 12:30.
Yeah, okay.
So I walked in the door at 1:30. So look, I made it home same day, sort of same day, but oh my God, what a long freaking day.
Nah, fuck all that noise, man. I mean, you
too,
probably have like a better understanding of all that stuff. Like for me, when I go to the airport, I like have like my certain set of details. Won't change a goddamn thing. I'll stay in the same place for 6 hours and I won't move. Even if there's a sooner flight, I'm like, this sounds like the best bet. I'm just gonna stay here because
I mean, so like when the plane was delayed 6 hours, of course, people who have connections, I feel for, right? Because I had a connection too, but if I don't make it home, it's not the end of the world. But I'm sure all these people, like the one woman I was talking to, she was going to freaking Scotland.
Oh wow!
And she's like, yeah, I'm missing my connection, which means I'm going to get in a day late. Mm-hmm. And I had a rental car, hotel, transportation from the airport. she goes, I called the rental car company, said I'm coming in a day late, and they wouldn't work with her. And it's just like, so
imagine you got like a wedding or something you have to go to. Like that's
so I mean, there are, I understand why some people were pretty agitated and pissed. You get it, right? But at the same time, I'm like, no one, as far as I could tell, no one really took it out on the gate agents. But I'm like, I've seen people like just go batshit crazy at these gate agents, and I'm like, these people are just you really think they're here to screw you over? Like
it's the worst though when they don't try to help you out at all though. Like they're just like you could clearly see that they're visibly like not trying to help you.
Yeah,
like, you know what I mean. That's when it's
rare that happens. I mean,
that's when it becomes a problem. But I agree though. Like I feel like for the most part they are relatively like
So I mean, there were people scrambling because there's obviously there are literally only like 2 or 3 flights in a day and out a day in Reno, right? It's not a big airport, so there was a 9 o'clock and a 12:45. The 12:45 was the one I was originally on, right? And they basically said this flight was going to go out today if they could get the part and fix it and stuff like that. So I was like, I'm not going to like go batshit crazy trying to get. The 9 o'clock was completely swamped, right? Anybody with status above me, and it didn't really take much to fill that one out. So I was like, all right, I'm not going to bust my hump trying to get back onto that same flight I was on before. If this one's going to go out, it was supposed to go out at 1 o'clock, which was 10 minutes after that initial flight. Right. So I was just like, okay, I'm screwed. I'm going to have to sit here for 6 hours and just wait this thing out. And they like I said, they fixed the connection so I could still, I was going to get home, right? And it was just like. And then,
especially if you're not worried about going somewhere, right? Like you're just kind of there to get from point A to point B. It's not like I have to be here by a certain day.
Well, the scary thing that I didn't think about was, and it was kind of after the fact. One of the people, one of the airport people was talking about, and they go, if the part that they shipped in didn't work...
Oh, you had to wait even fucking longer.
Well, so here's where it really got bad. They were like, either the plane... They'd have to, basically do this again where they tried to ship a different part in, or that plane's out of service, and then it's just you have to wait it out. And every flight on Saturday was filled. Oh, Christ. So it was like if this part didn't work and they basically just canceled the flight, I would have been in Reno over the whole weekend trying to wait for a plane to get out. I'm like, well, thank God that didn't happen. And Reno's not a bad place to be stuck. I mean, there are worse places, right? I would have enjoyed it, actually, if I had gotten stuck. Sure. But once you're sort of in the mindset you're going home.
You want to go home.
Like, you want to go home, right? Fair. You don't want to get stuck anywhere. So I was like, oh, God. So anyway, that's, typical. These things happen.
Yeah. I mean, listen. It's better that happened to you than someone like me, right? That doesn't travel a lot. Your experience with that type of shit. So.
Yeah.
You said you were on a first class thing, subtle flex. But have you ever finessed your way up from economy to first class before? Like, can you not bribe, but can you say hey, is there anyone sitting in this seat or whatever?
No,
it
doesn't work that way. No.
Damn. Okay.
No, I mean I have status, so I typically. I won't get bumped. Like Philadelphia to Phoenix is like hub to hub, and it's amazing. I have status and I fly a shit ton, and I get on the wait list for that for first class, and I'm like number 29. So I'm like, Jesus Christ, there are a lot of people who fly more than me, which is really just insane.
Yeah, there's probably people
a lot of people do overseas trips, and that's where you really bang the bucks on the miles and stuff. But. So I typically will get up clear to first class on sort of the smaller flights, like if I'm flying from Philly to Columbus, Ohio, or some, little plane where there's not a lot of traffic. I'll typically get bumped into first class, which is kind of cool. But
that's fair. And do you use your points you use your points besides just
I bank the points, and then when we do family vacations, I usually fly for free. So
that's good.
Yeah.
Whoa, that was quite the intro.
Yeah. Sorry. So that's intro. To kind of piggyback on that. The last 2 weeks at least, I was in Reno back-to-back weeks. So I literally went out Monday, came back Thursday the week before, and then I went out Tuesday and came back Friday, which turned into Saturday this last week, and then time that with having to put down mulch because, we're not rich people, right? So I don't have a freaking lawn or gardener to do this work for me. I do it myself. So I put 10 yards of mulch down. So these weekends were humping hard, just kind of getting the yard ready and stuff like that. So I was like, I don't have time for a fucking podcast, man. Why don't we put this in?
It's funny you say that because I was just about to say, I was going to try to make a transition because I don't know how the fuck to make a transition based off the airport thing, but you just actually helped me out. So thank you. So speaking of hiring people for mulch and stuff like that, you could tell the difference between someone who's like pretty well off and who's like not worried about money at all based off of how much they get their grass cut. Because there's times where, like, so right now I'm doing like landscaping and stuff with my dad, but a couple of our clients, they get it done, all of our clients get it done once a week, right? No matter what happens, they're getting it done once a week.
Right.
And when it was a little bit slower out, people like the people who were like still well off, but just not to that like crazy high level, they would be like, you could skip this week. We're not really interested. But the people who are like living on the golf course and they have like all that type of money to just fucking spend, they're calling us up like, yo, where are you guys at? Like, can you guys come out here and cut my grass so short? Do the mulch.
Yeah, it's 2 inches high.
Yeah, it's like 2 inches high. Like, you know, the mulch people, like the golf people are asking, like all this stuff. But then it's crazy too to put it in perspective because like just on like this, just like from having a conversation with them and just being with my dad, he's having a conversation with them. Well, they'll be talking to me like, hey, can we get, we need some like new mulch. Can we get the trees cut and all this stuff? You know, the bill will come out to be like $2,500, $3,000. They'll just write you a check that same day. I couldn't imagine doing that right now. Like, bro,
no.
You know what I mean? Like,
look, I don't
like
either,
just
right?
on having a conversation and then just being like, okay, yeah, we could get it to you by the end of the day. I'm like, bro, like that's fucking insane to me. Just to even think about that. Like, I get it. Like, there's a difference of people who like really appreciate their lawn and appreciate all that different type of things. And there's people that just like they want everything to be so meticulous and so detailed. It's like, bro, like okay, we got you, but like I just couldn't imagine writing that type of check. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, like you said, it's all relative and stuff. So
yeah, I mean it is.
I don't know. I mean I have a hard time writing a check for services when I can do it myself.
Well,
I mean,
you typically tend to be like the guy that does it yourself, you know?
I'm a hardcore kind of guy. If I can do it myself, I'm going to do it, right? And half the times it doesn't turn out right, or you know, there's issues. Like, I mean, I've been criticized because I did my deck. Like my deck, I did it.
Oh, did
right?
you really? Looks good, by the way.
Well, I mean, if you look at it, right, it's you know, it's wavy in some places, and you know, I'm like a professional would have like dialed it in, and I'm like, you know what though, I mean, whatever. So it's a learning experience, right? If I ever did a deck again, I know what I screwed up, and I'd fix it. And
yeah, but then at the same time, you get that satisfaction of saying like you did it yourself. You know what I mean? Like someone's like,
yeah.
Well, because think about the opposite. If they compliment it, they're like, man, this is a fucking nice deck. Like,
yeah,
I did that shit, man.
Well, it was funny. I was talking to your dad, and I
out.
was like, well, you know, what would you charge for 10 yards of mulch, right? 10 yards of mulch is a shitload of mulch, right?
That is a lot of mulch, yeah.
And yeah, you know, he's telling me the number, and I'm like, oh yeah, I don't mind doing it myself, you know. But then I'm like, after a weekend where my back is just completely blown out, I'm like, yeah, I guess I understand why people pay the you know the 4x fee to put down the mulch instead of you just sit back and do whatever it is you're doing. But anyway, so I kind of got through that, and so here we are. But yeah,
fair enough, man. Fair enough. And it's
hey,
a good workout.
So before we really, I mean, we haven't even gotten started, and we're already just into it, man. So let me get my beef with you and little Mikey freaking going here.
No. See, this
like
is
you two bastards are. Don't come over Thanksgiving.
Listen, this is a beef between you and Mikey, man. Listen, he invited me over. Dude. He invited me over as a friendly, like, hey, I don't want a lot of people over.
All right, so Mikey, hear this. He's throwing you under the bus, dude.
No,
so,
he'll take responsibility. He's
bastard.
So,
like, seriously,
I'm assuming you're talking about the
Garcia.
The Garcia,
yeah,
that was good. I enjoyed the fights. The first two fights started off slow. I know that you didn't really get to catch those.
I only watched the tank.
I didn't even watch the third one. The one under that one?
No.
The quick knockout? Okay.
No, I was out. So I had a dinner party. And I didn't get home until, I guess I got back about 9:30, 10 o'clock. And then I was just, you know, and then that was 11, right? I did watch it because it was over in one round.
It was over in one round.
Yeah, now that I'm thinking about it, it was such a short fight.
No, because I was texting you about it. Yeah.
I'm sorry. No, it was such a short fight, I forgot about it.
So that one ended in round one. And I was texting Joe the whole time because the way that the fights are structured, the UFC is a lot different than boxing. Boxing's only 4 people on the main fight, but it starts at 8 o'clock. And typically, like, I didn't know, but the fights will come on around like 11:30, 12. The UFC, it's pushed back later because it's 5 fighters, comes on around like 12:30, 1 o'clock. But I was thinking, I was like, what if there's a knockout? That cuts down that hour slot of space, because if, granted, all 4 fights went the whole 12, that's 4 hours, you know, that 1 hour slot, which had happened in the third round, or the third fight, sorry, it was over in a round. So they had to get ready and come out a lot sooner. Like, it's just like a time crunch on, you know, moving the slots forward. But anyway, so the Tank and Garcia fight came on.
I liked it. It was good. I definitely,
I have a lot of thoughts on this. We could probably spend this entire podcast, not only the fight, but Showtime's coverage. I thought fucking sucked.
Really?
So
like, what do you mean by coverage? Like actually in the fight or leading up to it? Like, what are you talking about?
Maybe it was the lead up. It just didn't seem like I'm comparing it to the Paul fight.
Okay.
On ESPN that was like a month before, right?
Yeah.
And I'm just kind of thinking about the feel of the coverage and the vibe
sure.
You know, just the hype and stuff like that. And I didn't think, I thought Showtime was just awful. Like it didn't have any. It didn't really have anything. I mean, like Tyson was there, Floyd was there.
I see, like the smaller details you're talking about.
But I mean, they didn't do anything to sort of like they showed Tyson for 2 seconds, and then I don't know. It just didn't have the same feel.
I think those small,
like for a mega fight, right? This is a super fight that everybody's been
biggest
wanting.
Fight of the year. Yeah,
it just didn't feel like it.
No, I agree, and I think I don't like. Well, I don't know why they would do that, considering it was the biggest fight. Maybe they were just focused on like the fight itself. But those small details, right? They matter a lot. I feel like when, especially talking about the scale of it. Like I'm looking at like some of the comment section on like these fighters, like Garcia's post. Neymar is commenting on it. Like these great people who are commenting, great athletes.
Yeah, and they
like usually in the UFC. Like I hate to compare the two, but they'll pop the tweets up. You know, pop
promote,
the tweets
right.
up. They'll do the crowd cam like you were talking about. They'll, you know, make it more, you know, holy shit, look how big of a deal this is. And on top of that, they made it the same time as the UFC. Like, obviously it crushed the UFC's numbers, but maybe that had something to do with it. You never know. I think that they could have done a lot more than what they did. I agree.
Yeah, it really felt off.
Yeah, it did. And then talking about the main fight and actually
Michael Buffer either, so that kind of was like a downer.
Yeah, what was up with that? Yeah, I was like, yeah.
He's probably contracted to HBO or ESPN or somebody, and he can't do Showtime or dance. I don't know.
But then the actual fight, it started off strong. First round, Ryan came out swinging. He was, you know, really on the aggressive. And, you know, he was trying to... They were both kind of just, like, feeling each other out. We knew kind of going into it that the fight was going to be a little bit slower because both, for one, they don't throw a lot of punches per capita per round.
It was...
So, you know...
It was a different type of fight.
Yeah, and then you when you go into those, like... There's definitely a difference between, like, besides, like, the physical appearance of, like, a lightweight fight versus a heavy, like, the sluggers, the Tysons who you're talking about, you know. So it's a little bit different, but... The second round was that knockdown that like everyone was talking about.
Well, I will tell you, man. I'm still like I know the punch that ended the fight. I'm like, man, I don't know how the hell he got up from that punch because he got crushed
on the second round.
That second round knockdown,
yeah.
He got hammered with that.
He got up right away too. He didn't take a second. So, he got up immediately.
Yeah, I mean, what it tells me is, man, that guy's got a chin of iron, but he doesn't have a rib cage of iron.
So going to that he's talking about the seventh round and Garcia. Only probably won like that first round, and maybe I think it was like the sixth round he started winning. But other than that, Tank was, you know, grabbing points off of him in between that whole time. And then the seventh round comes around. That's when that liver shot happened. And the thing that confused me is, and I'm not going to sit here to claim to be a professional or anything like that, but typically if you get hit in the liver, you go straight down. Like there's no like take a second, wobble back, and then take a knee. It's like you get a hit in the liver, and then like from the clips of like, you know, all the other fights that people get shot in the liver, it's like instant drop.
Well, I mean, what I mean? You know, those guys are probably running on some major adrenaline too, right? So
absolutely. I would imagine.
I could see it. I could see it like being a delayed reaction.
Okay, fair enough. But I just think that was just a little bit weird. But at the same time, then there was like a rumor after that there was like a mole in Garcia's camp. I don't know if you've seen that. Like apparently, like what's the guy's name? The Hispanic gentleman that fought Mayweather. De La Hoya or whatever.
Yeah, well, he's
apparently the guy that like was telling them that he had like a hurt rib or something, and that was like apparently the reason that he targeted his like body so much versus his head.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
well,
because like Tank
he didn't
typically
intend,
goes for
so
knockouts.
You're saying because I mean, yeah, I mean De La Hoya is like his promoter, so there's no way he would have done it intentionally. You mean he just kind of said something in an interview?
No, so he I don't know what happened, but
Ryan Garcia went to his like Instagram and was saying like my team like kind of like snaked me, or there was some moles in my
good
camp or
Lord.
something like that.
Yeah, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but okay, wow, that sucks.
You're not a conspiracy. Okay. Oh, never mind. I was about to.
Yeah.
Okay, I was about to say who shot JFK.
UFOs are real, bro.
Yeah, okay,
UFOs are real, man.
Okay, buddy.
No, so I mean, but oh man, Tank. So like when that fight started, like we talked about it, I think a while back, or like who do you think was going to win, and everybody was sort of all over the
Tank.
place, and nobody had any idea.
I think a lot of people were going more towards Tank as it built up.
I'll tell you what. I mean, even when the fight was starting, I was in Garcia's camp, thinking that he was the guy. So, oh man, coffee break in the middle of a podcast? We're videotaping, dude.
I was letting you go up.
Listen to this guy. Yeah, so I don't know.
You couldn't hold it for 2 minutes,
Yeah,
Joe. Not even a minute.
we don't pause in this one. It's not a professional thing, man.
I said go off for a minute. You
Jesus Christ. Look
I
at
was
this
gonna be
amateur,
right back.
man. It's not like you 50 episodes in and
Listen.
he does, excuse me, I got to get some
I
coffee.
said,
Right in the middle of the
I
podcast.
said I'm gonna go walk and get a cup of coffee. I thought you could hold it for
But
45
anyway,
seconds.
I really honestly thought Garcia was going to win. I thought his reach and those guys are so freaking quick too with their punches.
So,
Holy mackerel!
Yeah,
man.
there was definitely a difference in. I was gonna say the speed. Don't get me wrong. I wanted Garcia to win. Tank is extremely fast, but I think Garcia had the speed advantage. He's a quick guy, dude. Like he's really quick.
But oh my God, Tank's precision, man, is insane.
You've seen like when he the second round knockout, he like kind of ducked.
Like
and then
he throws a
knew-
punch, it
yeah.
hits. It's
No,
like
yeah,
sick.
for real. Absolutely. Well, now the conversation switched to Tank versus Devin Haney, and Devin Haney's like a Floyd Mayweather kind. Like I know that Tank's under Floyd Mayweather, but Devin Haney fights a lot like Floyd Mayweather, where he's just a point grabber. He's not going for the knockout. He's just going for the points. He's going for the belts. I think he has 3 of the belts right now.
Yeah, well, So Garcia came down in weight, right? I should. It's a shame Mikey's not here, but I mean,
he came down in weight. He
right?
came in at 135.5. They had a no rehydration clause,
Yeah,
which made it so that they couldn't get over like 150. And both fighters made it up to like I think it was like don't quote me, it was like 144 or 146.
Yeah.
So think about putting on 10 pounds overnight. That's fucking crazy, dude.
Yeah,
like not even a full day, like literally, like overnight. So it makes you think like how heavy could they have got if there was no rehydration clause, like because that's what typically Garcia fights at, and I think Tank might fight a little bit more to that specific, whatever it was, 135.
Yeah, because they were talking about him going back up a class, and I was like, oh, so he doesn't normally fight there. So I mean,
No.
Yeah, I mean, it was. I mean, so I don't know. As a fight though, I'm watching. I'm like, holy shit! The Jake Paul fight was actually more entertaining.
Yeah, I liked it. I think
it was more entertaining. I'm sorry. It was.
I like the Adesanya fight. We haven't talked since then, but that fight was kick ass, bro. Like the whole thing with Adesanya Piera. That was a rivalry of the decades. Piera just seems to be this guy that's like Michael Myers to Adesanya, and chased him into the kickboxing, chased him to the UFC, took his belt and everything.
Not anymore.
Then Adesanya, he played the little what do you call it, the mole in the hole type of thing, and got him down. That was fucking crazy, dude.
Yeah,
so
there
to
was
see him,
some good shit going on,
but now Piera is going back to up to 205, which will be that he's going to be a great fighter. I feel like because that's what he's typically a heavier guy anyway. Like when you see these guys go down in weight, they typically lose. So to see him go back to his like normal weight, it's going to be good to see him up there.
Yep.
Extreme knockout power. When you came over, we had this. I didn't even realize because I was just grabbing mugs or whatever, and we have so many of these Starbucks mugs, and it brings me to my next point of like.
Oh, I didn't even realize this is a Starbucks mug.
Yeah, they're all Starbucks mugs. We just collect these like they're called the. What do you call it? The World Travelers mugs.
Ah, okay. Yeah, so it's just, okay.
You collect them, and they have, like, a bunch of spots. Like, the one I have is from Puerto Rico. You have the one from Delaware. But have you ever collected something that you thought was going to be worth money? And
Let's go, Brandon.
You ever collect anything you thought was going to be worth money and it just didn't have any value? You're like, oh, I'm going to collect this, and it had it? Or vice versa. Did you collect something knowing that it had value over time?
Well, I've certainly collected things that have increased in value.
That you knew about. Do you have an example?
So in my younger days, I collected comic books, and to say some of those comic books have increased in value would be an understatement, to say the least. But
Do you still have them?
I don't have as many as I wish I had, but I do still have some. Like I have the very first Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Oh,
like
okay.
the first
First
edition,
ever, okay.
like 1980. No, was it 84?
Was Shredder in that one?
Yeah. So I mean,
Okay.
that comic book, I didn't buy that one on the newsstand. I think I paid aftermarket, but it's probably worth 15, 20 grand.
Jesus Christ! Really, off of one comic?
Yeah.
And you still have it?
Yeah.
Damn, dude. You have it probably have to have that thing in like a safe or some shit.
Nah, it's right out in just
Why?
come on over.
Oh, sorry. I see what you were doing there.
I wouldn't recommend that, but if you want to, come on over.
I see what you're saying.
Here's
Yeah.
my address.
That's fucking crazy, man. So 15 grand for a comic book. Seriously. Wow. You also
Yeah.
have that the watch. I was gonna say you bought it for like
yeah, but I didn't buy the Rolex for. I didn't buy it like
intentionally. knowing it was-
intentionally.
Okay.
Well, I mean, you assume that it wasn't going
Sure.
to ever lose money, right? But yeah, I don't even. Yeah, so I mean,
So Joe bought a Rolex. if you
So
can tell.
that was, I mean, honestly, when I got out of college and after, working for a little bit, that was my first real big, other than a car, right? That was my first big kind of over the top purchase. And I bought, it was a used Rolex, Submariner, right? The black one, right? It's black and silver, stainless steel.
Nice.
I got it, God, when did I buy that? It was probably 89. And I think I paid like $700 for it.
And where'd you like outsource it from? Like where'd you get it from?
Bailey's Banks and Biddle in downtown Philadelphia, which was a big jeweler. I think they're out of business now, but they were like a big Philadelphia-based jeweler.
Sure.
So I knew it was legit, right? It wasn't like some.
Did it come with like papers and shit?
No, because it was used, right? But
okay.
I was buying it from a legit Rolex dealer,
right.
right? So. There was some guarantees and stuff like that. And I've since had it sent back to Rolex to get repaired and fixed
fixed it.
once.
Okay.
It cost me like $800. So all in,
So,
I got
Matt, you have to-
like $1,500 into
It
the
cost
watch.
more
and-
to fix it than it did.
Yeah, it did. It actually did. It cost more to fix the freaking thing than it did when I. Well, I
years
got
later,
it fixed
sure.
like 15 years after the fact.
Sure. Okay. Do you ever do like a price match?
I mean, I think that watch is probably worth I don't know, $7-8 grand maybe.
That's crazy, man. Damn. Talk about a fucking investment. That's like
Well,
that was like
I
the
mean, if
Bitcoin
I had
back
put
then.
$800 in Amazon, I probably would have been better off stock,
Sure,
right?
right,
So
right.
I mean, it's all relative, and
All in hindsight, right, Joe?
it's nice that I didn't lose money on the deal, right? So.
Yeah, I mean, there's a
And the
huge-
funny thing is, I haven't worn that watch. When did the Apple Watch come out?
probably like
2012 or something. I mean,
don't
we're
know. I was
8
gonna say
generations
15. I
in,
don't
right?
know.
So
Yeah.
8 generations.
8
You do
years
the
ago.
math, right? So and there's probably been
2015.
Okay, so I
Yeah.
mean, I haven't worn my Rolex one day since
that's
the Apple
fucking
Watch
crazy.
came out. How fucked
Absolutely,
up is
man.
that?
Yeah.
Like you always hear the stories about how Apple Watch is going to replace all these luxury things and stuff like that, and I have it's been sitting in a thing collecting dust ever since.
Well, talk
That's in the
about a
safe,
fucking.
by the way. So don't come over for that.
Did you come over for the comic book that's worth more?
Yeah. Good luck with that too. But
That's crazy, man. That's actually fucking nuts. Because there's a huge market right now
but
on TikTok about the
I mean, to
reselling
answer
and
your
shit.
question, I mean, I'm sure there's other things that I've
The inverse has happened.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that I bought thinking, I'll make some money on this, and it didn't turn out that way.
Yeah, no, I don't know.
Cars is the worst fucking investment on the planet.
You bought cars thinking that it was going to go up. in
No,
value?
I didn't. No, but
Okay.
I mean that
That's the worst. Yeah, sure, I understand that. Speaking of cars,
Unless it's a Ferrari,
I
but-
actually might have a podcast guest on. Another one of our clients that we do work for. He's a car historian. He fixes up old time cars. He's
cool.
here in the local area. He doesn't want his name or anything out there, but he showed me his collection of cars. And dude, there is some he had it was like the first ever Alfa Romeo in his garage, literally $2.5 million car.
Oh,
in his
nice.
fucking garage. And he said he would come on. I was talking to him about some business stuff, but if he wants to come on, he can. Maybe we could shoot in his shop. because-
I am definitely in for that.
Yeah, man, he's legit. He's definitely got some shit. He has
So you're talking like a pre-war Alfa Romeo, like
he has Rolls Royce, I'm talking first gen, any car that you could think, Rolls Royce. He had an Alfa Romeo, Ferrari. He's working on restoring a Ferrari that a guy completely stripped, and it's like an $800,000 car. Literally, like, not an $800,000 car, sorry, an $800,000 restoration job. Like, it's crazy the type of shit that this guy has. And
well, yeah, it's easy to spend that kind of money on a restoration when the car itself is going to be worth like $10 million.
Yeah,
right?
man, he has some serious stuff. So, like, hopefully, you know, knock on wood, he'll let us come over there and shoot, because I'm telling you, like, the stuff that he has in his garage is like close to none. I've never seen it before.
Awesome, that'd be cool. Yeah.
So hopefully for next episode we'll do that. But I wanted to talk more about the reason I mentioned like things going up in money and things going down in money is because over the past couple weeks I've just seen like people talking about us being in the current recession or current like kind of whatever the fuck. But you were an adult during the 2008 financial like recession or crisis or whatever the fuck was happening back then.
Yeah.
Did you have any like like people were saying like their only regret from back then was not buying enough property back then? Like, do you like remember like how crazy shit got back then, or like would anything happen? Because I could like for me, I never experienced nothing like that in like my lifetime. I guess in 2008, I was like what 8 years old, literally. You know?
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, I'm trying to think. Like, I kind of remember the internet bubble. And that sort of all bursting in 2002, right after 9/11. I don't remember the 2008 like real estate bust. I don't. You know, it's funny. I don't remember it. I just kind of. It was maybe for me. It was just kind of had my head down and
Just work through it.
just worked through it. I mean, I was never a real estate guy, so I mean, if there was opportunity there, it would have just kind of gone in one ear out the other, and I just never got that.
Yeah.
So maybe that was my big miss, is just not understanding that market and taking advantage of it. But yeah, I don't remember. I mean, to be honest with you.
Yeah, fair enough. No, I just was always curious about that because, like I said, like I was not an adult at the time, and knowing that what we know now about like the huge amounts of job layoffs, or like you see like it was like Google or was it? No, it wasn't Twitter. Maybe
You know,
Google or
actually,
LinkedIn or
now that
something like
it's funny, now that I'm like pausing for a second and thinking about it.
What's up?
What's up, man?
Hey, how you doing?
Good.
What was we saying?
I didn't. I mean, it didn't personally affect me, but I did have some coworkers that I work with that definitely bought on the high side, and then ended up getting in these situations where like they bought a house that was $1 million, and like overnight it was worth $650,000, and they had a mortgage of $800,000, and they literally were told by their financial advisors to basically just walk away and take the bankruptcy hit or take the default hit, because that's only 2 years on your credit record. Jeez, and it's better to do that than lose $300,000. And there's a lot of people that are like me, and just that's not how you're wired, right? I mean, if I make a loan, I'm going to pay it off, and
fair enough.
So they were like torn about how to do it. I was fortunate enough that I didn't get hit by that. But if you bought, it's one of those things where I guess if you bought just prior to that, you really were in a world of hurt. Like you lost like tons of money overnight.
Yeah, but then after it, if you were like buying,
then you could have bought super cheap, and yeah,
absolutely.
Because what ended up happening was, in that situation, the reason there was such good deals is because all these people walked away from these bad mortgages, and then the banks got caught holding it, and the banks didn't want to hold all this, so they were like they would just sell shit for give it away for basically nothing to get it off the books.
Absolutely. I got a couple more things here actually, and we've been what's it called? We're kind of actually picked up where we left off. It's like riding a bike, right?
Yeah.
AI is going to make you a millionaire. This is the quote that I seem to be seeing everywhere. People talking about how if you're on ChatGPT, we're on the 4th one now or whatever the fuck, that it's going to make you a millionaire. And I typically, when I see these things, it makes me skeptical just with the crypto background of like seeing like, oh, get into this. This is the future. And then it typically backfires. Now with AI, I understand it's a little bit different just because it's like a program constantly working and stuff like that. What do you think about the direction of, I guess, that ChatGPT thing? And then I'll kind of tell you what I think about it, but I kind of want to hear like what your thoughts are on about like the whole AI shit, because we didn't really talk about that too much.
No, I mean, it kind of exploded like in the month that we've been off, right?
Yeah, really.
I mean, it's seriously. I don't even know what to think. I mean, I've gotten on ChatGPT and I'm like, okay, it's cool, but I mean, I don't know. I mean, people are freaking out, and I'm like, I get it. I mean, I could see how like this could. There's a lot of weird things going on with that whole thing. Like I hear I'm like, I was watching Elon Musk or whatever, and talking about how like
The Google guy. Yeah, I know.
it's already sort of self-thinking.
Yeah.
Like there's shit going on that it doesn't even know about, or they don't know how it's doing it. And I'm like, okay, that's kind of scary stuff.
No, yeah. So what Joe's talking about, I think, is there's a program where it coded it in one language and then completely within seconds it learned how to speak another language without being coded in
without being specifically told. Because like the premise everybody thinks is like, you know, these AI models are basically programmers are just telling it how to answer, and it's just sort of automating the answer, and that in theory is how it started. But now it's gotten to the point where it's like going out into the internet and just it's doing everything you would kind of think of for like Skynet and the Terminator, right?
So
it's self-aware kind of shit. And I'm like, whoa.
My whole thought process with it is it's bound to happen, kind of like with the crypto shit. You know, it's bound to happen. This one's just happening on a rapid basis because within less than a year, we're already on the 4th model of what they already thought was like an existing AI.
Yep.
With that being said, I think the problems are going to start to arise when it stops working for humans and it starts working for itself, like just constantly building itself up. Because what's going to stop, like, for example, when we get to ChatGPT 100, what's going to stop it from making ChatGPT, you know, whatever the fuck, 101, 102? It's just going to keep adding to itself. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, it's just going to keep building its database. And then eventually, could it be a Terminator situation where all of a sudden it took control of nuclear codes and it's just like, all right, these people are fucking dumb. We're bombing everything. You know what I'm saying though? Like, you know, like how's that gonna work? But at the same time, on a more serious note, and kind of off of that,
that's not a serious note.
That's coming down the road. Not more intermediate. Right now though, I see as a graphics designer, like.
Yeah, you're losing your job.
You're going to lose your job. Like, everyone's going to lose their job. Like, there was a collaboration between, this was a couple months ago, it was between the North Face and Jeep, and they made an entire collaboration with AI, pictures, product pictures, everything with this, you know, computer program, and it looked perfect.
Yeah.
Like, literally, like, sure, a human could go in and tweak a couple things, maybe color correct, but it literally did it all on its own. We're talking within a matter of minutes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's the scary part. It's like,
so I mean, this is the thing that the disconnect though is in that situation, right? With Jeep and North Face as a mashup, right? It does it on the fly, but it's still looking at someone else's creativity from the past. And it's just basically repurposing it or something like that, right? So
yeah, but they're already at a point where there's so many images on the internet.
Yeah,
it's too late,
I get
you
it.
know what
I mean, it's obviously there still has to be new creativity though, right?
Absolutely.
For it to it's not going to create anything.
It's a double-edged sword because Casey Neistat made a brilliant video where he made an entire video using AI. He said, creating a video of, you know, me going around, or me in New York City, make a video idea. The video was dog shit. It was like, hi, I'm Casey Neistat. I'm here in Times Square. Now I'm here at the lip. Like, people aren't going to watch that, right?
Yeah.
He's basically doing it to mock, like, this is not, like, a creative thinking thing. But when it comes to a point where it's like, hey, make a video, like, when you feed it the correct information, you feed it, like, specific things, like, yeah, it's still coming from the human brain, but it could come out to a point where it is fully generated. It's just, like, something where, as for, like, a graphic designer that someone who doesn't necessarily care, like the average person, they're just going to type in, hey, can you make a t-shirt design with a butterfly and the name Exclusive Minds on it, and then puts it on a shirt. And then for the people who are more nuanced, they'll outsource a graphic designer to make it because they want everything to be specifically, done. Like, it's like, you know, like we talked about. It's
not a bad idea. We should try it. We should actually try and do a design with ChatGPT for our next
thing
design.
you know, that ChatGPT is going to be wanting cease and desist or something like that. You know what I mean?
But I mean, it is kind of wild. And you know, it's interesting, the whole debate on, I mean, everybody immediately goes to this Skynet thing, and they're just going to nuke us or
Sure.
you know, kill us all with like some bioengineered weapon, right? I mean, that's obviously pretty freaking spooky. But the shit where people are going to be put out of a job is probably more legit short term.
Yeah, no, it is.
I mean, gosh, anybody who book editors or people,
Copywriters, yeah.
that shit's all like,
Out the
man,
window.
you're in trouble, man.
Yeah, I mean even think about coding, right? Coding?
Paralegals and
Yeah.
they were saying like you could go online and basically get perfectly written
English.
legal contracts.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Just say, hey, can you do me a legal contract for a sale of a house or a boat or something like that, and boom, it's done. Like no legal anything, and I'm like, whoa, that's cool.
It's funny. I seen it do that, but with. It was a workout plan. It was like, can you make me a leg workout plan?
Sure.
It gave it like some calisthenics and all that different type of shit to do. But you're not wrong. Like that's the jobs that are very entry level, right? And that's kind of where I've been at.
Well, that's not even. I mean, some of that shit's not even entry level.
But
man. It's,
like that's probably the first target. But where I'm going with this is like those first like entry level jobs. Where's that bridge going to be for the entry level guy like myself going into a career? Going to be where it's like, all right, we can get a fucking bot to do it for literally a quarter of the price.
I mean, I could see ChatGPT replacing doctors and nurses, for Christ's sake.
Really, you think so?
With the exception of operations, what is different? You're basically walking into a doctor's office and saying, "Oh, my knee hurts."
Sure.
Okay, where does it hurt? Oh, it hurts right here, right?
But
I mean, it's like,
is that no different than Google though? Because like how people like Google their
well, WebMD, but I mean, it's a little more interactive, right? At WebMD, you kind of have to pull the information out, where this is basically, I think, got the potential to be asking, when you walk into a doctor's office, where they ask you qualifying questions.
No, you're not
and
wrong.
then based on what you answer, right, they steer the conversation, and they don't operate on you. They basically say, "Oh, it sounds like you got a torn meniscus. Here's a couple of Advil, right?
Sure,
Run it off." I mean,
the people are going to be like, "Hey, my knee hurts," and it's going to be like, "Yeah, you got cancer,
I'm not
by the
saying
way,
it's
buddy."
going to replace doctors completely, right? There's always going to be a need
I see
to.
what you're saying.
But
like, you go to an urgent care, for example. Like every year, I get inflamed lymph nodes, and this
Sure.
is probably boring as fuck to the people listening. But every year, I get inflamed lymph nodes, right? I go to urgent care. I'm like, listen, I get inflamed lymph nodes. Can I just get what do you call it? Like I don't say that, but I say it indirectly. I'm like, I think I just need what do you call that? Antibiotics. That's what I need. I'm just like, can you just prescribe? They have to go through a routine of like, oh, we're just gonna check it out and all that bullshit. So if you can cut the middleman, sure, and maybe that's something that could happen. And speaking of middleman, the AI is getting so good where, the robot, like the 9 boxes where it's like, you are not a robot, click the bicycles or whatever it is.
Oh, right. They can beat that now.
They're paying guys on Fiverr like $5 to go through it, and they're writing them a prompt like, I'm dyslexic and I can't read this shit, and they're actually going through and the guys are clicking it for them. It's fucked up, but they're actually like to that point of smartness nowadays. So
that's all that shit's gonna get beat.
Yeah, it's very curious. It's not a matter of could this happen? It's when this will happen. We're already kind of seeing that now, so you never know.
I mean, it is a little scary though when you got some big heavy hitters. Not just Musk, right? I mean, he's obviously been like, let's turn it off for 6 months or whatever. Mm-hmm. But there's a lot of people that are in that space that, and I don't know if it's conspiracy theory, but they're all like, yeah, this shit could get out of control quickly.
No, they know that, and they're trying to make AI gods, where it's like we have like one thing, like one central like AI god, like the guy from Google he was talking about. He wants that to be, because he called Elon Musk like a.
Yeah.
What was it fucking called?
I know. Yeah, I forget, but it was off the
specimist or something like that. You know what I mean? But anyway, long story short, that shit's gonna get fucked. Speaking of Elon, that viral clip of the BBC reporter and him went kind of viral like a couple weeks ago. That was awesome to see that.
He face planted that dude.
Yeah, jeez. I mean, like, they're just giving anyone like with a reporting title like a chance to interview him. Like, what the fuck is that about? Like, seriously.
I don't know, man.
Like, why?
You know what it is?
You're talking to the most successful person in the world, and you're like, hey, I seen a bunch of hate speech on Twitter.
I know.
Just spitting out garbage, and then.
Well, I mean, it wasn't even that, because everybody knows there's hate speech and there's all kinds of stupid shit on Twitter.
Yeah.
But it's like, if you're gonna say that and you're not prepared, like with specifics, like I mean, it wasn't even really rocket science. It's like, what do you give me something specific? Give me an
example, sure.
Give me an example. Well, I don't really know, and it's like, what the hell am I doing here?
That's literally like the best way to describe what happened for the people who don't know, live under a rock. That's like me going to the police and saying, "There's crimes happening in our town."
Yes.
Okay, what crimes are happening in our town? I don't know. But
I don't
hear
know,
about-
but it's happening.
Yeah, it's happening.
I
No
heard it.
fucking shit, it's happening, right? Like,
I've
come
seen
on,
it.
seriously.
I've seen it. I've seen the guy park crooked at the giant parking lot.
Yeah, like
right. I mean, it was literally that stupid of the reporter, man. And Musk just didn't want any parts of it. It was like just face planted.
yeah, but imagine like you're a multi-billionaire. This is not even us like glazing
Well,
Elon
you
Musk.
know, the
It's
only
just
reason
like,
he took that interview is because it was the BBC, right? So, I
Yeah.
mean, this is the problem, right? I mean, it's like the New York Times, the BBC, there's like these institutions that have this name recognition. But man, when you see this kind of shit, you realize how diluted the value of these like media institutions is, because this dude was a freaking idiot.
And then the kicker of the whole thing was he was like, well, what about the BBC? Are they going to get rid of some of their like COVID headlines that are like,
right.
you know what I mean?
It's
He's like, this, all right, enough about the BBC. Like, let's talk about let's change the topic or whatever.
It was
It was brutal.
But that's every freaking day, man. It's these.
Well, where do you even get your news from these days? Because like you go to like Fox, that's what super conservative heavy. You go to CNN.
That's the way the world works, though. You know,
far left news. Like
conservatives are going to go to, they're going to go to Fox. They're going to go to Ben Shapiro. They're going to go to Dan Bongino, and the liberal side's going to go to CNN or MSNBC and all their podcasters, and you're never going to cross over anymore.
Yeah, I think that conversation is very important. I think there was a thing the other day. It was a YouTuber, well, not YouTuber, but he's kind of broken out of that. Destiny, have you ever heard of him before?
No.
Okay, he's like a very far left, but he's very sharp. He's very like intelligent. You could kind of tell like some of the points he has like blue hair, like fits that whole narrative. And then you have Alex Jones, and them two were debating the whole like time, and it was actually like an entertaining watch. But just to have those two far opposite,
left, far right, like
go at it. It was interesting.
Far left and far right.
Yeah, it was interesting to have that conversation because you don't see that type of dialogue on these like CNNs, right?
Because you can. I mean,
you see it, and it's like every time I go over a certain person's house, they have CNN on, right? I go over there, they have CNN on, and always in the headline, it's something about Trump. I'm like, why is this even still in like the headlines of like, granted he had that whole controversy like, was it like 2 months ago or whatever that bullshit was?
Well, the media has nothing else. That's why they're begging for him to actually win the nomination, because they
and it's like they are more like pushing him than I feel like Fox is. Like this whole thing with Andrew Tate, right? Like when you try to cancel someone who, like they keep talking about him. It's just making them bigger for the guys who are actually on that side of that, who support him. It's only making them bigger. I just don't understand why they like constantly try to like bring it up. Like if you wanted to cancel someone, why don't you just not talk about it?
Because they have nothing else.
You know what I mean, though?
Well, but that's why they keep pushing Trump, because they have nothing else to talk about.
Sure, fair enough. All right.
Yeah, I mean, look, I mean, politics, right? It's unfortunately that's the world, right? There is no conversations.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot could be done if someone who was just like a what do you fucking call it? Like a libertarian. What's the middle? Like the middleist person, like
libertarian,
guess, short. Yeah. Like get someone from far left, get someone from the middle, and get someone from the far right, and just kind of have them in a conversation to talk about something. And I feel like that news station could be crazy successful. Like, I don't know. I feel like having all these different opinions into one, like, kind of like mosh pit. That's why podcasts, honestly, to be honest with you, have taken off, is because it's not like a like, unless you are Ben Shapiro, like who you talked about, where it's like a dedicated, all right, this is all we're going to talk about is the far right news, right? Like, you kind of have those opinions of being able to have a conversation. That's why they're wildly successful, like Joe Rogan,
Yeah.
But enough of that. A few months ago, we were talking about. I don't know if you remember this, but we were talking about like Netflix, how big the platform is. What if they implemented live streaming? Do you remember we had that conversation at all? Maybe
live streaming on Netflix.
We were like, they're missing a market by not live streaming. We kind of brought it up. I don't know what episode it was, but they actually.
You mean, well, live streaming what? Like.
Just like having like live streaming shows or
like
having
a Dave
live
Chappelle.
Sure, yeah, like a live special, something like that. Well, they actually tried it over last weekend, and it was a huge fail because so many people were tuning in that the website or the platform, it couldn't air it. Like something happened with it and it collapsed. And I don't know if you've seen it. It was pretty interesting.
No, I mean, I don't have Netflix, and
right. Well, I think it's still an open market. Like I mean,
rumor has it Netflix is really hurting now, right? Their viewership's like tanking or whatever.
And that started when they announced that they were getting rid of the account
figure,
share.
yeah.
You know what I mean? So it doesn't surprise me, to be honest with you.
They've been talking about that forever, though, and it's like they still haven't implemented it, right?
No, they haven't. They haven't.
They keep threatening to do it, and then
that's going to be the day that because that's their market, right? Like they're making a good amount of money. They should just fucking just go at it and just leave it alone. But hey, have you seen that new game that's coming out? That it was like being called as too realistic. It's a body cam. It's called.
I just saw it yesterday.
Did you see that?
Unreal something or
Unrecorded.
Unrecorded,
Yeah,
right.
So it's
holy shit.
It's a body cam video game where you are thrown into it. Look like in a vacant building.
Yeah, it's like a first-person shooter.
It's a first-person shooter, and it's a body cam. So if you ever seen like a police, video, God forbid you have seen one of those, but they have the body cams.
But it's a graphic engine.
It's a graphic engine.
It's on the fly.
So it's Unreal Engine.
It's not a body cam video. That's just
no.
You're
It's a
kind
video
of
game. It's a whole video game.
on a track. And
No. It's a video game. So basically, this video game, right, is so realistic that people were deeming it as unsafe because it's literally like putting people into like an immersive experience of
well,
like
this
having
is the world.
gun.
Yeah.
But like I get the difference between like COD, what I play all the time. You're kind of cartoon. You could definitely tell that you're not real. This shit looks like it's off a live leak
right.
and you're into it. And then my friend brought up an interesting point. Or no, sorry, it wasn't even my friend. It was Mario. He said, "What if this could actually prevent people from going to do some of those fucked up things?" He's like, because it puts them in such like a
throw
realistic
them into a game and
like
let them go
such a
kill,
realistic,
shoot up a school. Yeah.
Right, you know what I mean? Though,
It's
like,
fucking crazy,
dude. It's
like,
fucking nuts. But like,
but it's worse. It's better than the alternative, I guess. But that's a fucked up thing to even think about.
Yeah, but he
shit.
brought that up, and I was not because I wasn't even thinking that, and then he brought it up, and I was like, wait. I was like, wait a second, that could, I guess, make sense, but what if that shows someone how to operate a weapon, shows someone how to fucking clear a building and go do the same exact opposite? But yeah, it was insane. It's crazy with the direction that the games are going. I don't know how successful.
Well, they're talking about how the next wave of games is going to be incorporating ChatGPT into the mindset of the game, right? They've already had a couple of those, Alien Firestorm or something, where the game thinks or cheats and it does all kinds of stuff. So that's implementing that's going to be the next evolution too.
I think the only reason that the body cam wouldn't work is just because of the motion sickness. Because people even for COD, people turn off all the motion sickness and stuff like that.
You get used to it though. I would.
People turn it off because they don't like it at all. So if they have that, it might make it look less realistic. But it's kind of like weird. Like when you have it on, like you're like, I can't play this shit. It's like almost unplayable. Versus when you have it off, it's like, all right, this is like I feel back to like normal. But I don't know.
That motion stuff probably goes away if you start to get into the VR goggles and stuff like that, because then it's you can walk and it's probably because you're fighting two realities, right?
Sure.
The real world and the video, watching a television screen, and it's kind of off-putting. But
and then the last piece of news on video games that I have actually comes from CS:GO, which released. Oh my God,
CS:GO,
Counter-Strike Global Offensive.
Okay, yeah.
This game released probably I don't want to be wrong because I genuinely don't know, like 10 or 20 years ago. Still, it makes up for like 11% of Steam's basis still to this day.
Really?
I'm not kidding. And the second game's coming out, so a lot more people are revisiting it. It comes out. The second game's coming out in the summertime, so this is a big deal. Like everyone's getting on at gambling and stuff like that. A karambit and a knife, or the karambit knife and the AK. I don't know what it is exactly, what type of gun it is. It's a StatTrak AK-47 case hardened, which is ridiculous. Sold for $500,000
in the game,
in Steam. So it was a transaction. So it's sold for $500K. This is what the gun looks like. Literally just some stickers on a gun.
So a vanity gun that's fucking crazy.
It's sold for $500,000, bro.
See, this is the open sea. It's just it's bullshit.
Yeah, man. I don't know, bro. That
So
shit,
I
when heard
guarantee
that-
you, it's the whoever sold it was basically the same guy who bought it and
I don't
creating
think-
an artificial
I
market
was
with some
thinking about
bullshit.
that.
I mean, it's horse shit.
I don't think though, because the guy who bought it was on Twitter talking about it. I think it was actually two different guys. Maybe they're friends or something.
Yeah,
You never know. Sure,
They're
I get
creating an
that.
artificial market. It's like fuck that.
Yeah,
I mean, come on.
Who knows?
Who?
though, man.
No, seriously.
Actually, no, I lied. I have one more thing. I wanted to ask you because I generally don't know about this and I don't drink. What was the whole controversy with BudLight? I know this is a little bit outdated at this
Jesus
point.
Christ!
So what happened?
We're on an hour. We have to go.
Okay, what-
I do have to go actually, but
In short, they came out with like a
all right.
advertisement.
So this dude Dylan.
It's a guy. It's a solo guy.
No, so I mean, the controversy is this transgender dude, Dylan Mulvaney.
So girl to guy,
No, guy to girl.
transgender girl.
He's a dude who thinks he's a girl or whatever.
Sure.
I think I just fucked myself here, right?
Okay.
So
it's a transgender girl.
well,
You're
I
good.
guess if this doesn't get pulled, we'll know that I didn't screw it up. But so he's a guy who thinks he's a girl,
Okay.
and Bud Light hired him as a spokesperson, and
Okay.
gave him her
Her. Yeah.
a
Trying to keep you on the straight and
commemorative
narrow,
can,
A what?
a commemorative Bud Light can or 6-pack with his face, her face on the can.
So one can or one case, or is it's in all the stores now?
No, I think it was. See, that was. The perception was it was in the stores, but I think it was just a commemorative can that was
Okay.
given to him.
Sure.
And that was Bud Light's thing. Is we work with influencers all the time, and we give them as a memento of the thing, right? But the bottom line is, right? It's Bud Light. Bud Light is very
beer,
right. It's a
boy.
very blue collar
Yeah,
beer, right?
yep.
I mean. It's not an artsy fartsy freaking beer, right?
Not an
It's not
IPA
a
beer.
liberal beer. That's the bottom line is it's not a
Sure.
liberal beer, right?
Right,
It's
right.
it's it's flyover country beer, right? And
It's not a free healthcare type of
everybody's
beer.
like, what the hell is Budweiser thinking? And then it was compounded by the fact that they had this recorded interview with the marketing woman from Budweiser, who is basically just giving the middle finger to the Bud drinkers and saying, we need to change. We got to get rid of all these blue collar drinkers.
What if
and
this was just
get
an-
ourselves some highfalutin drinkers?
What if this
right?
was just like an AI script that they're just trying?
I mean, you can't make this shit up.
Completely
right? It
missed
was-
the mark. Like it was like the Casey Neistat video where they're going around New
Right.
York. This is the AI version of the Bud Light
Right.
beer. They're just completely.
So I
fucking
mean, it was just it was a classic example of just
Right. No, it's
a
like a-
company not understanding the
their market.
demographics
Right,
of their
right,
of their
yeah.
buyer, right?
Okay.
So of course the blowback was immediate, right?
Yeah.
All these country singers are like, "Fuck Bud Light."
Who they
There's
drinking
dudes who
nowadays?
have like Bud in their songs that are like, "I am never going to say the word Budweiser again," right? And it was
okay.
bars like
Wait, so Budweiser? Okay, this is a fucking noob question. Budweiser and Bud Light are the same exact company.
yeah, Anheuser Busch or
Got you.
right, which is
Okay.
owned by InBev, which
I
is a
don't
Belgian
drink, by the way.
company.
I don't drink, by the way. So people might. Okay, I don't
So I mean,
drink.
Budweiser's not even an
apologize.
American company anymore, right?
Okay.
They still hire a bunch of Americans,
Sure,
and,
sure,
but it's
sure.
still a big. But yeah, it was just. I mean, it's like the bottom line is it's a classic example of just a company
Knowing their
going
mar-
woke and not understanding the demographics of their buyer.
Remember back in during COVID, the Starbucks and the Carhartt controversy with the Starbucks people were like, "Oh, you don't have to wear a mask when you come in, or you don't have to get vaccinated." But then the Carhartt people were like, "Oh, you have to get vaccinated."
yeah.
So
Exact
it's like
same-
the same exact
yeah.
same thing. It's like know your fucking market. Like the
Yeah,
of course-
it's just. I mean, it's
Yeah.
basic 101, right?
so that's crazy.
Like you don't
Holy
have
shit.
to be over the top, like anti anything,
there-
but at the same time, you don't go full 180 and
Yeah.
just. I mean, and like I said, the Budweiser can thing and that whole thing probably would have blown over, except they have the video of the freaking marketing woman. That was
Well,
the
yeah, what
real.
did she say again? What was?
I don't remember the specifics, but it was just basically like
Go fuck yourself.
go like like fuck our current drinkers. We need to change the dynamic of the personalities of our buyer. It was just like it was an FU to all the Budweiser drinkers.
Jesus
and I
Christ.
was like, holy shit, did this just really freaking happen? Did she just, and like it's on video, like she's on a podcast or something, and she is basically going, we need to elevate the profile or the conversation of our drinkers. Like, what is wrong with you?
Two things. One, does she still have a job?
So she just took a leave of absence from work, and it doesn't say whether it was voluntary or if it was
mandatory.
Mandatory, right? So you can read the writing on the wall, right?
Yeah.
She's basically on her way out the door.
Sure.
Like, and you know,
came
and of
in
course,
there, stirred
like the
some
Budweiser
shit up,
scene,
and then got
no
out.
one apologized. It was like because you can't apologize, right? You can't. Oh, you know, it's just fucking ridiculous. This world we live in is so fucking ridiculous.
So now who from the, because she was doing it to advocate for trans people or LGBTQ?
Yeah,
AI?
all the
So
the
who from
alphabet
that,
soup.
Who
Yeah.
from that? Okay, who from that side is like, oh, we need to go get Bud Light? Like, you know, is there any activists that are like, oh, Bud Light's not catering towards us? Or is she just like the person that's just kind of fucking it up for everybody? Because
She's the kind of person who fucked it up for everybody. Because, like you said, there was no.
like, you know what I mean? Like, who on the LGBTQ AI plus is going and saying,
There was
you
nobody
know, like,
that was.
oh, Bud Light's
No.
not catering. You know, get the fuck out of here. If
So
you like
they were
something, like
looking to
something, you know
check
what
a
I mean?
box.
Yeah, exactly.
So they're like, let's hire Dylan Mulvaney and
Fuck it all.
let's check a box and do a whole promotion and show how woke we are, right?
So then-
and it's just like it's just fucking stupid.
I would imagine based off what
they
you're
have,
saying.
and the funny thing is, like, InBev is this huge, like, you know, global conglomerate that has a million different beer lines. It's not just Budweiser, right? They own. I think they own Corona. They own all the fucking beer. Like, there's a million of them, right? Yeah. So they could have just said, you know what? This is a market that we want to go after. Let's create a brand or take one of our secondary brands that's more catered to
yeah,
that
and then
market
do it.
and focus our attention on that brand
Yeah.
and not fuck with Budweiser.
Yeah,
and they
absolutely.
didn't do it. It's
And
like,
they could-
what the hell,
yeah,
man?
no, for sure.
And ChatGPT is where we need marketing to go. So maybe ChatGPT would have had some common sense.
Maybe
They should have asked
ChatGPT.
ChatGPT. This is a good idea.
They were probably the ones that came up with the idea of the whole inclusion thing. They're probably missing the social shit.
Jesus Christ! I got to get out of here. So
Okay.
let's kill this. So we're on an hour
Well,
and 5.
great
Oh my
episode
God.
53. I think that'll do it. Yeah. So thank you everyone for tuning
Yeah.
in. We just
We'll be back.
you know,
we'll be back again. Hopefully,
we will
next
be
week.
back. We'll be back next week. Go check out our storefront to see if there's anything available that you guys might have
There's a
interest
few
in.
things left.
So yeah, go check it out. exmnds.com to get all of your clothing and goods services or goods needs. So
Yep.
yeah, go check
like
it out.
the podcast, all the other good stuff. Later, man.
Peace.